So essentially what this is a cyberpunk inspired 90s anime kind of aesthetic. Um, and it's essentially an assassin that's going to be traversing to try and escape from some people trying to find her, essentially, which would be cool and should be very dynamic. I want the kind of thing that gives us a little bit of an edge is I want to animate everything to the sound and to the rhythm and beats of everything, which would be pretty cool. Um, as well as I want to try to. There's going to be a big challenge with a lot of effects and that kind of thing. I want to do lots of like anime references to like Akira and Ghost in the Shell, that sort of thing. Um, but yeah, what I can do is I'll also play a slightly newer version of this now that I've tied down the camera a little bit more. And essentially, what we're doing at the moment is we're going through and I've taken screenshots of various moments in the piece, and we're drawing thumbnails to describe the sort of poses and the overall gesture of what I'm trying to communicate at each point. So far, we've done 2 stages of that. Um, and I reckon there's about 5 in total. Some are shorter than others, but I think we've got some of the more broad parts already working quite well in terms of thumbnails. And yeah, then we'll go into blocking. But before we go any further, what I'm going to do is I'll quickly just play what we've currently got. So yeah, that's the latest edit that we have. And yeah, we're basically just going to be continuing on from where we left off last week, and going to start doing some thumbnails. So where we left off last week was in here. We drew these thumbnails like so, which was when we're traversing across the wire, and then we got to the point where we landed on the other side, and then now we're going to be doing the drop. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for, joining us for the first time. Welcome. Hope you're doing really well. Yeah, so essentially what we're going to be doing today is continuing those thumbnails. So I've got my templates here, which I use as just to help with proportions. And then from there, I kind of layer in different poses over the top. Just to give me... Just try and keep things a little bit more consistent. I think the other thing is there are so many camera angles with this that it's really useful to know how my camera is based when I'm drawing those thumbnails, rather than just drawing a pose and then it doesn't quite translate the same way on screen when I do the camera stuff. So yeah, this kind of helps me, just give me a guide when I'm doing some sketches. How long does it usually take for me to make my animations? That's a good question. If it's a personal project, a lot longer. But when we're working on productions, it varies on the type of style and the kind of budget you have. Sometimes you can be animating anywhere between 6 to 8 seconds a day, and then other times you can be animating 1 second a day, depending on the quality and everything. But for my specific animations, when I'm doing these projects, they do take a long time. There's only one other piece that I did myself, for those who haven't seen it before or don't quite know like the sorts of content I've made in the past. I did a Spider-Verse inspired project back in 2018, which I've got here. And this one in total, with literally doing like we're doing here, like all the planning and Yeah, all the planning, all the rendering, all the animation, absolutely everything in total took about 3 months. But it wasn't like consecutive hours of every day kind of thing. It'd be like the odd hour every other day kind of thing. So I don't know actually how many like hours it took to make this. I think the animation itself, once I started to get into the scene and blocking everything, took about 2 weeks. But this shot that I'm doing now is much longer, so maybe it'll take a little longer than that. But it's cool. It just means that there's a bit more of a platform that we can build on, and you kind of get to see the whole process. But yeah, this is one thing that I did in the past, which was one of my own personal projects. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, so that was really well received, and that was really fun to work on. The thing that was interesting about that one, compared to what we're doing here, is I didn't actually do much thumbnailing for that Spider-Verse inspired project. I ended up using a lot of like inspiration from Pinterest, like comic book poses, and then I would kind of almost just go straight into blocking without planning too many thumbnails in advance. I pretty much had a rough idea of what actions I wanted to do, and I made poses on the fly. And I'm just doing a little bit more planning this time because it's so complex. And I want to make sure that I think one thing that can sometimes happen is if you don't do thumbnails, you lose the gesture or how simple you can make something. When you do thumbnails, you really bring out the true essence of what that pose is, because you know that you're going to be able to make it more dynamic when you actually go into 3D, and you're going to be able to break it up a little bit more, get it on proportion, you get to hit those shapes. But I feel like sometimes if you don't do your thumbnails, then a lot of that, like the simplicity and the real essence and the overall gesture of a pose can sometimes get lost quite easily. So it's good to just have that sketch just to be like, this is the main intention, and then let's layer this on top and make something more interesting and like really polish up those poses in 3D. So this is just it's a slightly extra step that I'm doing in the process this time versus the previous project I did. So we have this moment at the moment where we're coming down in this direction. I drop from, like, there's a ledge up here, and we drop and land on this windowsill. And essentially what's going to happen is this window is open, and it's going to kind of like rotate around so that it ends up on the other side kind of thing over here. So I think it'll be quite fun in terms of, I don't actually know, I was thinking about this earlier, I don't know which direction I want to go with this, whether I want to have the character land directly on top of the windowsill, so it's like on the very edge of the lip of, like, the very top of it, or if it grabs and comes down. So if I had a pose where we did something like, let's just move this across for a second, and then if I had the window here, now I don't know if I want to have the character, for example, do I want them to be holding on? So like they're coming down like this, and then there's like one leg here, one leg's dropping or something, and then we're like looking out kind of thing. We could do something like that. Kind of deal. Or if I have them standing directly on top of it. So something... Come on. I'll select it all eventually. There we go. Just move this across. Something... Yeah, I don't know. More... The thing is, you've got to twist as well. That's the hard part. I might... Because I can have them jump and twist into it, so that when they land, they're slightly more balanced over the edge of it, and they're balancing themselves. Could do something like this. but I don't know which direction I want to go. It's quite a tricky one. I don't know which one. I guess the main idea is which one communicates how this character traverses a scene the most. Like, they're supposed to be a very calculated assassin. Imagine a scenario like, I guess another thing that I could refer to this as, like, inspiration is in the second Star Wars movie, Attack of the Clones. There's that moment at the beginning where they're in the city and there's an assassin, like a bounty hunter, that's trying to take out Padme. And, like, the way, like, that kind of character, we don't really see that character traverse too much. But I'm curious to see... Hey, Animation Addict, how's it going? Yeah, I'm curious to see, like, if they were to do some more parkour scenes, would they be very calculated? Would they have... I think this is a cool pose, but I don't know if it necessarily communicates that this person is very calculated and they can really traverse and, like, be very agile and stealth-like. And I think maybe I want to lean into that a little bit more. But as to how they land, I don't know. I like the idea that it's a little bit more grounded at the same time. Like, we want to hit some dynamic poses, but I also want it to feel somewhat grounded, like someone could do this in a way. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Because, like, also, the another question you could ask yourself is if the window is kind of, like, slightly more toward camera, something like this, and this is, like, the back face of it. Like, do we want to have the character on this side of the window frame, like standing here, or on the opposite side, so they land and come around onto the opposite direction, kind of thing? Like, that's another question you can ask yourself. And so, because when they drop later, if we just open up that shot again, like the planning for it. Hey Mikey, how's it going? No, I know it's animation, but if they jumped on the top of it, wouldn't it most likely break a normal window? Yeah. You like the first pose better. You prefer this. Yeah. It does. Yeah, I do know what you mean. I don't want to, like, because there's going to be a lot of you're going to have to suspend your disbelief to a degree with this. It is sci-fi as well. But yeah, I know what you mean. We don't necessarily know what the window's made of to support it on the hinges. So I think we can get away with whatever action just works best. But yeah, maybe something like what we've got here works a bit better. I also want to make it feel like its own character. I don't want it to feel like... Because it's so easy when you're doing dynamic poses to make it feel too much like Spider-Man. I think I just, like, my sixth sense is just to go that direction. And I don't want to. Like, I want it, like, this could be kind of Spider-Man-like. I guess more Spider-Man would be, like, bunching them up a bit more, right? Like, if we were really... Oops. Like, if we really curled him up and then spread the legs kind of thing. If you did something, like, where the legs are out here. Like, this is slightly more Spider-Man-like. Like that kind of thing. Which I don't really want to go that direction. So I want to use her arm and her tech. Like, she's got these tech things on her arms a little bit more. So I want to play into that where I can. So yeah, it's tricky. I do actually feel like this might be a direction to go. If I just undo what I did. Yeah, if your gut instinct is that you prefer that first pose, maybe you just stick by that. Go with something a little bit closer to this, and I'll just push this pose a little bit more. Maybe just get the straight coming down, get a little bit more weight in there. Then the question is, what do I want to do with the other arm? Because you could just do something like that, because it has that flow that comes through. Do I want this arm to come out? Could be quite cool. So just breaking it up a little bit more. Maybe that can be like part of the anticipation or something. Where it comes back and then swings like we lead with the arm or something. But maybe on the resting pose, maybe something more like this would work a bit better. I'll go with this for now. And then we'll see how we feel as we're going through. Like I say, this is nothing. When I'm doing these thumbnails, it's more like idea exploring. Some of it will stay, some of it will most likely change, especially when I start animating and blocking the shot itself. I imagine a lot of it will change. But that's okay. Like, that's just part of the process. You got to experiment and try things. So let's just get rid of this stuff. And then we'll put this up here. Oops, didn't realize they were on separate layers. Let's just grab those, merge them, and then we'll move up and out the way. So go into a new layer. Next pose. So this is where we're... So we have this like ice cream cone thing here. And that we're kind of dropping down it. Now there is this moment where... I want to see what the next thumbnail is. Yeah, okay. So we're dropping down here, and there's a really cool pose that I saw in the reference that I found as we were coming through, and I want to try and take inspiration from that a little bit. So let me just quickly find it. It was in my edit. CYBERPHONK. So we're coming down. Now as we land in here, I do have landing on the leg, and we're traversing to screen right in the shots, but here we're going left, so I'd have to flop the image. So in here, we'd actually be leading down with his left leg. So let's just flop this image. Oops. That's not what I wanted. It'd be more like this. So if this is our scene... Yeah, I think this is a pretty cool pose. I like that we are getting some of the, like, the depth to the pose as well. It would be nice to see a little bit of the head. So if the head's here, we're cutting off maybe around there with the leg. And then we're seeing a foot here. And then this leg's coming through. Now, do I want to see the negative space? Do I want that foot to be in the negative space so we get the straight line? Or do I want to see it on the other side? That is the question. Because I could do something like this. I don't like this angle. Something more like this. I like parallel lines. Just simplifies the pose. So maybe something... I could have the other foot on the other side like this. It does break up the line of action, though. It makes it feel maybe slightly less dynamic. And it will also mean that if I keep the foot in here, we might be able to make it play with depth a little bit more. As long as I preserve the clarity of the pose, that's the main thing. Be something like this. And then I liked that we have... So we have one contact on the arm here. And then this one's coming around, bending back. Something like this, I think would be cool. And then it's going to drop down and do a twist kind of thing. So I think we'll go with this for now. And then we're going to the next thumbnail. This is where we're coming down. So this is quite a fun one. I always had this idea from the beginning. So there's a very specific moment that happens in the music where, if I quickly find it, it's earlier than this. There. Do you hear where the sound kind of goes boom, and it drops a little bit more? And then there's that like accent that happens. So it's like pew kind of thing. I had a very specific idea there where we have these table and chairs, and to just traverse over them, it's kind of like a style kind of thing, just to give it a little bit more flair to the shot. I had this idea where there's going to be a table, like the chair here, and it's going to do like a, I don't know where you'd get it from. There may be maybe it's in like Greece or something, where that's in my head where it comes from. Hey Seth, how's it going? Where as they're coming down, like they stand on the chair and they kind of like drop onto the chair. It's kind of like a musical thing. You see it quite a lot in musicals. But I liked this idea. It's a very specific action. So if this is our, try and look at the angle that we have here. We are kind of looking down and angled. So if this is the underneath of the, if we just draw a cube, that may give me a base to build the chair on. So let's just knock that down. So if the chair is going to be like the back of the chair is going to be somewhere in here. And then we want to see the underside of the chair too. And the table, the legs will be kind of here. Something like this. So we use this as the chair. Then I can build the pose over the top of the chair. Just move this over here now. We can get rid of the cube. So I like this idea of one foot's planted down and the other one's coming back. So we have maybe one leg like here and another leg stepping down. So then we're getting this kind of line of action. I want to get this very bold line of action coming through. And we're kind of looking down slightly. So it's something like this. Now, the foot. I like the idea of it kind of on its tiptoes. It might be a little bit more tricky, the perspective of it. Maybe something, yeah, something like this. Again, I'm not being too selective over the shapes or the lines. I'm just trying to find the overall gesture. And then the head. I'm not sure what I want to do with the arms either. If I want to have one arm like come over, have an arm here. Could do something like that, or I could twist the body in. Like if I do this, I get this very strong line that comes through, which is quite cool. If I just select these, if I select both of them. Like I could do something like this. Oops. Wrong buttons. There you go. Something like this where we're coming through like so. And then I don't know what if I don't want to drag the head. That's the thing. I want to still be leaning down and looking down. So the head would be more like here. Something like this, maybe. I probably will experiment with this one quite a lot. I like the idea of stepping down. That's the main incentive here. I want to have one leg leading down, the other one coming through. Something like that. We'll keep going. We'll just stick with this for now. And then, like, you know, there's got, again, we have these, like, trailing parts that come through the body, so we can drag those behind. Kind of thing, which would be pretty cool. I think it, like, goes over the top. So, like, we can wrap those around, kind of thing. All these extra pieces will make it feel more dynamic. And then obviously she has these like pieces on the side of her head, which you can see there. So they also will like add to that rhythm of the shot, of the pose, as it's coming down. Yeah, I think we'll go with that. So I'll just merge those layers. And then we'll go to the next one. This is the last one for this stage of the shots. Just check the chat. Do I always do these thumbnails on professional shots, or is it just personal shots? No, I do lots in professional stuff as well. I have a whole chunk of them somewhere. I'll see if I can find them for you. Seth will probably have seen these before, because I teach him at Animation Mentor, but I have a whole like big image of just all the different thumbnails I've done over professional stuff. See if I can find it. Thumbnailing. Here you go. Here's a whole bunch of thumbnails that I've done on previous like professional productions. Some of it's from like Netflix TV shows. Lots of it is from like children's like UK TV shows. All of this is for a show called Happy on Netflix. I quite like this one. It's fun. And then this is like a Playmobil thing for an advert. These are for a TV show called Flugels. But you can still see I'm keeping it quite loose. There is something more tactile that I do prefer just about using pen and paper. But just for the platform of streaming, it makes sense to just do it digitally. But yeah, there's some fun stuff in there. And then I've got some like Digby Dragon characters, another UK 3D animation. There's like this is from Go Jetters as well. More Go Jetters stuff in here. It's quite hard trying to make these characters dynamic when they were these like big beans, so that was quite fun. Yeah, but a lot of the poses did translate pretty well in 3D, so that was cool. I liked this mouse. We had this like mouse character called Archie. I wanted to use them more often, didn't get a chance to animate them too much. So yeah, we'll keep going to this one. So at this point, we're going to be like hurdling over the railing. And I do quite like the idea. Let's just knock this back a bit. On this railing, I haven't found any reference yet of how I want to hurdle over it, but I was mostly because I just want to. I know a general idea of how it would hit. So, like, if we have the hand here, grabbing onto this railing. Now, the question is, I don't know if I want to arc the line of action over, or if I go the reverse in this direction, simply because I want to lead down with the head. As we charge through, they're gonna like kick off of like, or like boost off of something here, and I haven't chosen the object yet. But there's a couple of moments where like the boots are gonna like boost from underneath, kind of thing, on the soles. So maybe I do like this idea of it coming through in this angle, but maybe I want to keep the legs, like the angle of it might need to be more this way, because I want to make sure the head still leads. So if the head's like in here somewhere, that head needs to be smaller. Could play with depth a bit as well. Try and get a bit of foreshortening in there. Now, with the legs as well, I don't know how I want to, if I have one leg just go straight through and then the one's bent, which is quite a classic thing to do. But because we're hurdling over, it would be quite cool, again, to play with depth where I can. So, I might have a leg come up here. This kind of thing. So we have something that's quite big in proportion. Slight angle change on that foot, actually. Something. I wonder if I can rotate the canvas. Ah, I can't. Depending on. Is it this one? There we go. That's what I need. Thank you, Cintiq. I'm actually using an XP pen, but it's essentially the same thing. Now I might need to angle the foot slightly more. It's hard to get the perspective right, because again, the camera only does, like, the composition is quite flat in the way that I've screenshot it. So it's going to take a bit of fiddling. I don't reckon we would see as much of the side of the shoe. Maybe something like this, and then the other leg's kicking through. Do I want that leg to kick through? Kind of like this. I could do something like that. Could be quite cool. Because we have 3 bends. Like, you want to get some variation where nothing's. You don't want everything to be straight and you don't want everything to be bent. So having some variation in there could be quite fun. So, like, we have a straight arm here with the shoulder coming through, and then we have a bend on this arm, a bend on the other leg, and then a straight in this leg. So something more like that could be fun. I am exaggerating, obviously, but I think I need to scale this leg down quite a lot. To really sell the depth a bit more. I will be probably cheating some of the scaling, and the depth, because I don't want to change the focal length too much. Maybe something like this. Cool. I think we'll call it there. I'll just draw the railing in for context. Something like this. Yeah, and then I'll just turn off these. It can be time consuming for sure. Like I think thumbnailing does, yeah, it can take time, but you've just got to be loose with it, and then hopefully it speeds up the process a little bit. But the whole purpose, right, is that you're doing thumbnails to save you time later, because sometimes there's a lot of exploring where you're like, oh, I don't quite know what I want to do here, so I'm just gonna like fiddle around with the rig until I get to a point where I'm comfortable or I like the pose, which sometimes can take equally as long as just going through, getting a very coherent pose that you've sketched, and then going in and just posing it outright, and then you know exactly what you intend. I think that's a big part of it. There is some exploration involved, and you can try new things and test. But I think just really understanding what your intention is helps a lot, because I think it's a lot easier to communicate a pose just by doodling it and exploring those ideas, rather than having to go through the 3D process of posing out an entire rig to get to a pose where you're like, do I like this? Do I not? And then trying to explore and pick which one you like. Whereas just doing a quick sketch to be like, yes, no, maybe not here, maybe not there, kind of thing. It's just a little bit faster. So even though it seems like you're not spending, like you're wasting time because you're not in the scene doing the 3D application, in fact, you may be saving yourself some time. It depends on how much time you're going to be spending trying things, because you can just do a pose and 90% of the time it's going to work, but it's just a question of, is that the right choice, and is that the intention I want to communicate? That's really what elevates your work. How much time do I spend on planning? That's a good question. Do you mean in a personal scenario, or in like a professional situation? Because they're very different for me. In a professional planning, I would maybe spend a day, maybe a day and a half planning. So like really finding what's the purpose of my shot, doing sketches, filming some reference, exploring some ideas, trying to improvise, and really like come up with a coherent idea that I can then pitch. Whereas if I'm on personal projects, I overcompensate, I think, in planning. Maybe I go a bit too far, but the main reason is, if I build that structure at the beginning, then once the structure is built, I literally just go in and I just literally can like just smash it out, basically. And there's less exploring. One of the problems I had on my Spidey test that I did, which I showed earlier in the stream, was how the character actually traverses through space and trying to get those arcs to work. And what ended up happening is, because I didn't plan that part as much as I could have, what I ended up doing is, even though I'd be like midway through animation, I would be still going back to the staging of the shots and changing things on the fly to make it work to the animation, which was very like frustrating. And had I done that a bit earlier, or planned ahead of time a little bit more for how that was going to work when I was setting up the scene and the staging, then it would have been so much easier and I wouldn't have had to struggle with that so much. So yeah, it does vary. Let's knock down the opacity a little bit, and then we'll work from those. Cool. So this is where we're starting to dive now. So we're diving into the railings. Now I had this idea that as we hurtle over the fence, then they're going to, how do I describe it? We're going to let go mid-air, so we're catching through, and then as we dive down, we're going to like reach with our arm, and then we're going to use that momentum to then throw ourselves into this like gap here. There's like a gap in this railing, which we're going to essentially dive through, which should be quite fun. It wasn't how I initially planned this, but again, like just by thinking about, there's so many ways that you can go through something. So in here, this is going to be like a breakdown, like the mid-swing, where as we dive through, we're going to catch with the hand. So the hand's going to be like on the railing around here. I'm just going to draw that as a base. And then I want the hands to be like grasped in here. And then we're going to be throwing ourselves through. Now, how do I want to do that? I like the idea of... So again, let's just do a very strong line of action diving through. Where one leg's going to come round. I do naturally do like one leg up scenarios. It just breaks up the complexity. So we have this very simple... Like we talk about simple and complex in my in the video I did on YouTube. So in here, this is the head. The head needs to be smaller than this. Something like this size. Then as we're coming through, I want it to be lower because the arms are reaching. And then I might have this twist action. How could I do that? Or do I come up? Could have the hand here. Yeah, I quite like this. Dive through. I know, I'm just trying to think of the weight. So I definitely want to have a straight on the arm. And then we're kicking one leg through and the other one's tucking in. And then it's going to kick. It's so interesting. I'm trying to think because I'm trying to think of how they all piece together. It's really tricky because essentially, if I just do a different sketch here, so you can kind of see why I'm being quiet and I'm thinking. So essentially, we have in the environment we have a railing here. Then we have this ledge here which we're looking at, and then there's a pipe in here. And then there's another railing. It's like a 3D thing. It comes through. And then we're landing on another railing over here. So this is like the whole traversal. So if we have this as the scene, then essentially our character starts here. I'll just do Stickman. Starts here. This is what we did earlier. Then we're doing this pose here where we're grabbing through. And then you got to tuck through here. So now the legs are leading. So the legs are going to be kicking back. Yeah, I think I'll have to do something. I might have to keep the legs straight. That's the thing. Yeah, okay. I think I know how I'll do this. So we're going to tuck the legs in like this. Just feed through. Arch the spine like this. Then as we come through here, we're grabbing on the railing up here. Maybe tuck the legs in. And it's going to be like this whip action. It's going to be like a whip. And then it's going to somersault back. And then land on here. Kind of thing. And then eventually there's like a pole here. And we're going to be hanging on the edge. This is how I plan to do it. Something like this. So we're coming down, feet through, catch through it, and come through. Something like this. I'm going to just use that as a little doodle there. That I've got something to base it off of if I need to refer back to this. So we're coming through, and yeah, I think this is going to work for now. So we're coming through here. Now, I don't know if I want to drag. I could even drag. I could do something like this, where we're coming through still, but the leg comes around. But no, I like what I had before. I'm thinking about the whip. Because like there's going to be this moment where we're leading and then the whole body swings through. So in here, I think this is going to be better. And I think I might be able to tuck, like push this line a little further. This line of action, just to really get that lead on this foot coming through. Something like this. And then I don't know what to do with the arm yet. If I come around, I want to like look at the flow of the pose. Because I could just have them grab. You could lead with one, then grab into the next, but then I get a double. Because I don't want... I'm going to grab with two hands later, so I don't want it to look like we're grabbing. We could always drag behind one arm, so the other arm's in here. Could look interesting. We get a bit of twist to the body in here. Like, it's going to be a breakdown anyway. So, a lot of this is going to be like... There's going to be some... like, movement that happens, and we're breaking up the body where we can. So this is kind of what we were talking about earlier about lead and follow. We're implying movement by this dragging behind and this leading forward. But we still have a line of action that's going through. We're just breaking up with the arm in between. We'll try this for now. We'll see how it feels. So, in here, I like this idea of holding on to this railing. Now, I wanted to have one leg free falling and the other leg like sticking out. I wanted this to feel very like loose. So when we're hanging off of here, this leg is pretty much just completely dropped. I'm gonna feel that pull on the arm. And I believe it's her... Yeah, the left hand is the one that's animatronic, so like we can dig the hands kind of thing into the wall to attach her. I don't want it to be too long, so like I'm gonna have to push some of this back so that we're not breaking the length of the arm or anything like that. But yeah, I think I can like really clean up this pose later as well. I think I want to keep her dropped down, so I just need to position the arm slightly differently. And it might need to be more... It does need to... I'm trying to think of the angle that she would be able to hold herself up with. Like, it's mostly the arm that wants to have a lot of the support. And the legs just more... There is... Like, the arm is the main thing that's holding her up, and the leg is the support. So, I don't want to... Something like this. It is quite a simple pose. Like, at this stage, we don't want to... I'm not trying to overcomplicate it. With this moment, I want it specifically to feel like she's not the focus, because we're going to be looking further down at something else. But I could slightly change the pose, potentially. It could be... We'll explore with it, because I like the idea of it free falling and just a leg dropping, but also we might be able to play with that where we push the line of action still or something. So let me just explore some ideas. We could do something where we push the line of action a bit more like this. Still have the leg up here, but maybe this leg just points down a bit more. So we get a bit more of an arch in there. Maybe something more like this would work a bit more. Just have a bit more of a flow. Yeah, I'm going to go with this for now. It's deliberately supposed to be quite simple. And then like the leg bits will be drooping down here. Kind of thing. And then you got like a little head pieces. Yeah, that's that pose. Then we're going on to the next part. This is where we're starting to walk along the railing, I believe. What I'm using. Because I'm looking at this structure. And I want to see how we traverse through it. Tuck in here. Aha. Yeah, I can use that. So we come through and then we grab on this to vault us through. So it's around here. I want to create a pose. And it's in the corner. But I just want to have a catch. So we come through, we press, and then we're going to catch and it's going to vault us back. So I'm just going to screenshot this. And then I'm going to set here. Cool. So we're catching onto this with our hands, and then we're vaulting through. I'm going to kick one leg out, and then we're going to tuck the other one in. Something like this. Might need to scale it up a little bit in a minute, but the general idea. So it catches and we're going to kick and swing in. And then like the other parts will probably drip behind or something. Something like this. And the head's going to be looking down. Something like that. And then I'll just draw the railing in there, the context. Really casual. Like, we're pretty much just standing at this point. The arms will be slightly balanced out. Kind of like this. She's looking... I want her to be slightly looking down. So we need to hunch the spine. She's looking down here. Now, do I just have the hands completely... like the leg completely... together, or again, I just want it to feel very like calculated in the way that she moves, like she's done this 100 times. So I want it to feel super casual for her. So I don't want to push it too far. Like I want her to be like very precise, where the legs are kind of like always together kind of thing. But you also need to balance at the same time, right? Like, I do want her to be quite straight. She's going to be slightly looking down. Maybe something like this. Like, this one's deliberately going to be quite symmetrical. Because I want to show that she's, like I say, she's very calculated. something like this. Super simple. And then she's going to do this hop, drop, and then come down and catch. And then in here, we're going to be grabbing onto this railing. I want to think how I want to grab. So the grab's going to be on the underside. Arm down here. Head's here. Arm's just going to drag. There's going to be a little bit of tension there, so I want to have one leg maybe kick out. The other one's more dragged down. Do I want to do something like that? Maybe a slight bend to the leg, just to bring out some asymmetry. Trying to get the arm connection right. You can get a little bit of twist to the body as well. So if I'm thinking about it from a 3D perspective, the head's going to be more in here. Maybe the leg, we actually came around kind of thing. So one leg's like here. Yeah, I think I prefer this. I also don't want to break the wrist. That's the tricky part. We're going to have to be slightly more profile on the upper half, and then maybe it wraps around to the side on the other one. Or do I flip it? I might have to flip it. I'm thinking about the angle of the hand as she comes around. Step, swing. I want it... so tricky. Could do a turn. Yeah, I'm thinking about how I want it to play in my head. We can do the turn. So the head's going to be on this side. It'll just make sense. So she's grabbing around, going to drop, come around, and then into this side. Yeah, so it's going to be on here. And the head can be turning around the corner. I want to keep like the rest of the body quite limp in here. She's just grabbing and she's literally just letting her body drop. The leg can have a little bit of tension in there. On one leg kind of thing. Yeah, I'll play around with this as I go through. I want to keep it quite rigid though. Like I want her to feel like she's just holding the pose. There's just so many different like mini inspirations that are building up into one idea. So yeah, we'll see how it feels. Do I want to wrap it on the inside? Something like this. And then she's going to kick and swing round. Now, how do I want to do that? That's the next one. That'll be the next pose. So I can... let's just draw the railing quickly in here. So she's going to be rotating. So now the arm is going to be on the other side. Or does she... She could hold on with both arms. That could be cool. So she tucks in. Kind of thing. Her arms wrap over. And then she's like curling the body and bunching up. Something like this. And then she'll kick off. So we won't see the arm on the other side here. Something like that. But at this stage, I like this idea of this guy like scrambling, where he's like, whoa, what's going on? Kind of thing. So I want him to have quite a low stance, where he's really spreading out his weight. And he's like leaning back, kind of thing. And he's like, what's going on? He's like trying to grab himself, kind of thing. Something like this. And then she's going to be climbing on top. I may have to do them in 2 different colours here to make that stand out a little bit more. So I might just put him in like a, I don't know, like a light red or something. Maybe something in this. And then I'll just fill him in. Let's just knock this up a bit. Just so then I can draw her over the top. Oops. Undo. And then we'll draw her. So she's going to be climbing. Oops. Keep doing that. Let's knock that down. So she's going to be stepping on him. And she's climbing up. Something like this. And then she's going to come around and kick him in the head, basically. I might get like a curve here to the leg kind of thing. Get that line of action pushed a little bit further. And then she's going to spring up. I do want to have a little bit more... Maybe if I could get a bit more tension in this leg. I want her to feel like she's going to really press off the ground. So I want to make sure that I get a little bit more weight on that leg. So I'm just going to grab all of this and push it down a little. There you go. Something like this.
I could have this leg kick out, so then it's more weight on that one shoulder, which is what's pressing him down. Could do something like this. Yeah, I think this will work a bit better. Just feels like there's more weight being placed on him now. And we can still see his face kind of in between, so he'll be like, oh, kind of thing. We'll create the next one. So she's going to jump, and she's twisting in the air now. And I've got this reference on the side, so she's going to be slightly more... Line of action is going to be more like this. I really want to build up that leg. I want to have that arm back slightly. And this arm slightly more forward. So she's twisting the body around. So we'll see that leg here. So she's coming around like this, and then she's going to smack him in the head. I want to make this slightly more vertical. Or horizontal, sorry. As she comes around here. Head will need to be slightly more upright. Something like this. And then he's going to be more twisted. So he's going to have turned around. His head's going to be... I want him to be slightly unstable. So he kicked and twisting around. He's probably going to lose his footing. So... just trying to think how I'm going to describe his... He's twisting around this way. His arm's going to be backwards. This arm's come around. This leg. So that's his right leg. So his right leg's going to be more like here. The other leg is going to be up here. He's going to try to catch himself. Oh, it's hard because when she kicks him, he needs to be kind of... She needs to be lower. And she's going to jump off of this. Yeah, okay, I think I can make this work. So maybe something like this. This is why planning's important. So he's come through. She's going to be lower. Around here. He's going to have a lot of twist to his body from the lead. Something like this. He's come around. His head's away from us. I think like the 3 dimensions of it will work a bit clearer in my head when I actually start posing in 3D. But it's just to get the broad idea. Because she's going to have... The thing is, he has to twist. I might try to have him maybe not so, like, I do want him to twist, but maybe he stays a bit more upright because he's going to have to get kicked in the head. That's the idea. So she twists, he maybe stands up more as he twists around. Get a bit more of that upright position into that leg. So he's twisting off of this leg. So he turns. I can still get that arm coming around. I'm just trying to think the logic of what that leg's doing. He's here. He's turning on his right leg, twisting around. Okay, so this left leg would be here. Let's keep his leg a bit more outwards. So he's not going to catch his balance. It implies that he's actually going to fall. Something like this. And then when it kicks, then he's going to get smacked in the face. I'm sure. No, like, please rest. Like, I don't want you to... health always first. So as she kicks and comes through, we are kicking with the right leg. The leg's going to have to kick. I want to make sure that we kick into his head. So the foot's got to go through the face. Like where the head was, I mean. Leg, foot's down here. So then this leg's here. So this is the underside where the leg would be. Then we got the volume of the rest of the body, the twist in here. Something like this. I really want to see that negative space on the leg from when she kicks. And then we're going to do the other guy getting hit, and he's going to, like, question is, do I reverse him so he swings to the left and then continues around to the right? So we just change the momentum so he continues the same direction the entire time? Or do we reverse it? So I'm going to stand up to demonstrate this because it's going to be a bit hard to explain. But essentially, see if I can do this. So imagine... we'll do it from the camera view. So she's climbing up. We're like this. She's climbing up our body. She kicks off of she pushes off of the right shoulder. So I could go round to the left so that he spins like this away from us. But I do want him to turn into... at the moment I have him so he turns... and seeing the direction. Yeah, so I think I have him so his back faces away from us. So she kicks and he's pushing this way around and doing this action kind of thing. And then when he turns, he's gonna kick and it would go the other way. So I might actually reverse just to continue the momentum and make sure it flows properly. I might have the previous key, so this one, I might have him turn the other way. So how would I do that? Coming down. Yeah, okay, I can do this. So the spine would reverse the other way. I think that pretty much solves it. I think the spine and the direction he's turning. Yeah. So the head's going to be looking up here. Just layer it in. So here, his head is going to kick and turn away from us. So his head's around this way, and he's pointing away from us here. And as he's coming around, we want to get a real twist to the body. So he's like this. I want to feel that straight happen where he really twists through. So his shoulders and his head, like we want to feel it in his head. That's where he's getting kicked from. So I reckon his shoulder would be around here. Next there. I'm gonna have that arm hit straight. And then the other arm's gonna come around this way. That leg's just gonna kick back. I want to hit this full straight. He's just gonna get absolutely obliterated by this kick. Poor guy. Just doing his job. And then, so we're really showing the force there. We're still getting that nice negative space. So essentially, if I were to like break this down into really simple shapes, then essentially we have like a triangle and then a pretty much one straight line. Like I could abbreviate the gesture of this whole pose, this action, into something like this. Like that's literally the overall gesture. So you still read the poses clearly. So we have this kick. He's twisting around. But do I have him like land on his back kind of thing in here? Like this kind of thing. Could do something like that. Where he comes around, twists, and then lands into his back. That could be quite cool. Something like this. Want to get that arch in there. So let's just cut that back and then move that over. Oops. You gonna move my pose? There you go. Something like this. Get rid of the arrow. I'll get the idea. And I'll just change it to red so I understand the context of the characters. Oops. Something like that. And then the breakdown for this, I can plan the twist. So I might as well do this all at once because I can see the poses. So we're coming through. I'm going to do it in black for now just so I can see it clearly. We're twisting around. The head's going to come down. Oops. Ah, wrong buttons. So that needs to be smaller. That needs to be bigger. Head's leading through. and down. And then the rest of the body would still be dragging. So we're coming around. Yeah, so this arm's like here. The other arm is going to be wrapped to the body. Trying to think about the logic of... Yeah, okay, yeah. So this leg, this arm's come through and across. I think. This is his back. He's turning away. Oh, it's so hard to think of the orientation. So we're at this angle. So we're kind of side on here. This is the side. Then we're landing on the opposite where his front is here. So the front's here. Front's here. And we'll just draw the sides in. So we literally have the same way we're facing either side, just one's upside down. So we're leading in with the head, I know that much. Now the angle of the body is twisting, and it's turning. The side's going to be here, so we need to see the back, basically. Yeah. We'll need to see the back here, so this is the back. And then this arm's coming around. And then the other one's here. Yeah, something like this. So then that leg might come through here. Let's try something like this. So now that I've got that base, so the head's coming through. I can't get the angle. Circles. Head's coming over this way. Back is facing away from us. Trying to get that line that it comes through. Maybe the other leg just comes straight. Because that's his right leg coming around. What would the other... Yeah, I think the other leg could just kick through. Be straight. And then we have this shoulder and this shoulder. This one's wrapping through. So we're just going to see an arm here. We don't see the hand. And then this one's dragging this way. We may see the hand on the other side of his body here. Something like this, I think. And his head, we're still leading. With his head's like pointing this way as he's turning through. I think it'll work like this. It's hard to tell. It is really hard to tell. There's so much orientation and rotations in different angles, and again, this is why I'm not a 2D animator. This stuff just goes over my head. But I think this will work. So I'm just gonna grab this. Just shift it over slightly. Because it was all under the same layer. Hey, what happened? Let's try again. There you go. Stuff like this, and then we'll just quickly ink drop this, and then I'll just fill that back in. Yeah, something like this. And then I'll just quickly fill in that part there in red, just so we get the context. And then I'll get rid of this. That was just for me planning. Cool. I can just label these B for like the breakdown. So we have K. Oops. Is it not doing that selection thing again? K. Why are you not painting? Oh, there you go. K. B. K. Just for key poses and breakdowns, so I understand later. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a pretty successful set of planning for thumbnailing. Something like this. I probably will number them just so that I have that context for later. Otherwise, this can get confusing. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then this is kind of 10. This is the next stage. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that though. Maybe sure just save it before we go any further. Yeah, that's pretty much everything that I think I'll do for the stream. We still have another 2 stages of thumbnailing to go, but I can show you the other examples I have here. So these are our thumbnails for the very first stage in here. So this was stage 1. So we're on the sniper, we leap, land, flip, land on the other side, slide down, and then we go to a jump, hold in the air, catch, vault through, do another swing, catch, vault over and land, and then we go into what we did earlier today. So that's when we're swinging on the windowsill, vault down, land on the chair, vault over the fence. There's a lot of vaulting, it seems. And then we're doing the swing, walk along the pipe, drop, vault ourselves, like hurdle ourselves over, climb onto the guy, kick him off the ledge, and then we're going to do a vault and grind down a neon sign. That's the next stage. Then there's the final stretch as we parkour our way across some like little rooftops at the very end. Yeah, we're slowly getting there. It's taking a bit of time, but slowly and surely, it's like I say, it's gonna be a lot of blocking. But because I've obviously got to draw, I've got to pose all of this stuff afterwards. But once I've laid those foundations, doing the breakdowns and that kind of stuff is actually not going to be as difficult. I have a pretty streamlined workflow for that stuff, so it'll just be fun. We can experiment with how much we push with like multiples and smears, how tight our spacing is. But really getting these key poses down and our blocking is going to be a big part of it. So I think that's where the real juicy side of the animation is really going to be, is in those key poses. So yeah, stay with it. Once we get those thumbnails down, the real fun part comes, and we can really tie down those cool poses. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that part. But otherwise, I hope you've all had a great week, a nice weekend, and yeah, hope you have a good one going forward, and I'll catch you on the next stream. But thanks for coming by, and yeah, speak to you all soon. Have a good one.